Bless the Lord, saints and everyone in general. Bless God. The Lord has laid a revelation in my spirit, and I want to share it with the broader world at large. Many a time we read the scriptures and we tend to say they are well-known scriptures, but I beg to differ. The reason why I say that is because every time you go back to the scripture, the Lord reveals something new to you. In other words, God gives you a new revelation. Now, if we say that the scriptures are well known, that simply means that we're blocking God out from revealing fresh revelation to us, or we're creating a barrier and no more room for God to reveal fresh revelation. We got the point. Now, I read the book of Jonah chapter 1. He's considered to be a prophet, one who is ordained by God, sent by God to a particular city, a city that is named Nineveh. Now, when I looked at Nineveh, it's a wicked city. A lot of idolatry take place there. A lot of prostitution take place there. A lot of wickedness, even witchcraft take place in Nineveh. Now, Jonah know about Nineveh. He heard about their background. He know about them, the wicked things that they do. But long story short, what I really want to touch on and what I want to really highlight this evening or this afternoon to us is that Jonah was called by God, sent by God to go to Nineveh. And if you read the scriptures, the Bible said he went, he arose and he went, but not in the direction that God sent him to go. He went the opposite direction. In other words, he was supposed to go to Nineveh and he went to Tarshish, opposite direction. Now, long story short, again, believers and sinners in general. But the real undergird that I want to touch is actually the believers, because what God showed me, it has to relate to the children of God, the church of God. Now, long story short, I know I keep saying that Jonah went the opposite direction. He boarded a ship going to Tarshish, and the Bible said God arose a tempest on the sea so that the sea became rough and they were having issues. Now, the sailors that was on the ship, they were crying unto their gods to say their God should save them from the storm that they were experiencing. But Jonah was on that same ship, and Jonah was falling asleep in the lower deck of the ship. After they had called on their God and they recognized that their God wasn't answering them. Now they say to Jonah, why are you sleeping in such a time like this? Don't you see that it's a tempest? Don't you see it's a storm? And they said to Jonah, Jonah, call on your God. Call on your God. Now remember, Jonah disobeyed God, and he went the opposite direction, so God sent a mighty storm. Now when they asked Jonah to call on God, I don't see nowhere in the scripture there in that particular chapter where the Bible said Jonah began to call on his God so that the sea became calm. Long story short again. Now they asked Jonah several questions. They said, where are you from? What is your occupation? What's your nationality? And Jonah said, I am a Hebrew and I serve the God of heaven, and I run away from him. Now, what I want us to understand is that you cannot run from the presence of God. You cannot run from the calling of God. You cannot run from the purpose of God. And what God is saying to the church and the believers at large, you are running away from the purpose and the calling that God placed on your life. There's another question that these idol worshippers, the sailors, asked Jonah. They asked Jonah a question. They said, what caused this wicked thing to happen to us? And they ask him another question. They say, why have you done this, according to the New Living Translation? Why have you done such a thing? Why are you running away from God? Now, at first appearance, many persons, we go through this chapter and they say it is well known. We'd learn it in Sunday school or when we was younger, just like David and Goliath and all of that. But as I said, I beg to differ. Now, the point and the undergrad I want to highlight to the church and the believer is that the sinners was asking Jonah the question, why are you running away from God? Those were sinners asking Jonah the question, why are you running away from God? Why are you running away from your calling? Why are you running away from the purpose of God that God has placed on your life? If you look at it, it should be the church asking the sinners, asking the unsaved, asking the outsiders, the sinners, this question, why are you running away from God? Why do you continually deviate and turn a deaf ear, stiffen your neck, harden your heart? Why is it that you don't accept God? But it wasn't in this case. It was the sinners asking Jonah the question. And this is the sad part. God told me when I read this scripture, this is what is happening to a lot of Christians. They are running away from God, and they are allowing sinners to ask them the question, why are you running away from God? Very sad.